TX Factor is brought to you in association with Martin Lynch & Sons, the world's favourite ham store.
Hello, I'm Bob McCready, G0FGX, and welcome to TX Factor, the only UK TV show dedicated to amateur radio. How about this for a spot then? I'm in Southend-on-Sea, which boasts the longest pier in the world, and I think it'd be fair to say that Essex boasts some of the most active amateurs in all aspects of the hobby. So we're going to meet the guys from the Essex Repeater Group and find out just how much hard work is involved in keeping their digital and analogue repeaters on the air. And I think also, quite often we as users take that hard work for granted. And we're also going to find out about the future of amateur radio, which is very much in the hands of the trainers, which is why we're going to talk to the folk from Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society, who've put a lot of work in that area, and find out about their unique approach to getting more people interested and involved in amateur radio.
And we spend a day near the coast at Shoebury East Beach with the guys from Essex Ham at one of their amateur radio promotion days. And we witnessed the launch of a high-altitude balloon out into the North Sea.
Well, here we are in Danbury in Essex, and I've come to meet some of the guys from the Essex Repeater Group, which has just celebrated their 40th anniversary, to find out about the great work that all repeater groups do up and down the country, and to find out which repeaters they're responsible for. Now, I understand that Clive G1EUC has got a D-Star repeater in his house. So let's see if we can find that first of all. We've got to look for a house that looks like a radio amateur might live at it. Ah. Yeah, this is definitely it. Clive, hello.
Hi Bob, I was by the door, you coming.
Clive G1EUC, for your sins, you're the chairman of the Essex Repeater Group. How many repeaters do you guys look after?
We've got 4 repeaters. We have, they're all in Danbury. We nearly had 5, a 23 sems repeater, but unfortunately we weren't allowed to have that in the end. We have a 6-metre repeater, which is, I'd say, about half a mile away from here. We have the 2 other repeaters, the more widely used ones, that's 70 sems ER and DA 2 metres, about a 5 or 6 minute walk from here.
Okay, we'll take a look at that in a moment. But first of all, how long did it take you to build up to this number of repeaters?
We've been going for about 40 years. The first 2 repeaters were the sort of enduring ones, 70 sems and 2 metres, ER and DA. So they were with us for, let's say, about 30 years. And the last 10 years or so, we've included the 6-metre repeater, which is nearby, and the D-Star repeater, which is in the garage there.
It takes a lot of work to keep that number of repeaters on air. How many of you are actually involved in the physical making it happen?
We've got 8 people on the repeater group. We've got around 3 people that are very technical. I'm not one of them, that keep the repeaters going. So there's Andy, he's excellent. He's sort of looking at ER at the moment, and he's been looking at the 6-metre repeater. Murray is looking at the beacon, because we also have a 10 gigahertz beacon which is placed on my chimney. So really those are the 3 main people, but there's a lot of organisation to do. We've got Norman on membership. I chair the meeting. I sort of can whip down to the repeaters very quickly, look after this one as long as it's not too technical. So yeah, we've got about 8 people, and everybody has a role and everybody helps out. So
it always really, like all of these things, relies on a few keen volunteers, and if you lost any one of them, that would be a real problem, I guess.
I think it would, yeah. And I think there's lots of these things that people don't realise that go on. It's a lot of work keeping them going, checking them, keeping them all going. So you get lots of complaints, but not many sort of bouquets, which would be nice if we did. But I think some people would appreciate us anyway.
What about the all-important question of money? Because it's not cheap to buy all the kit, keep it maintained, keep the spares.
We've got about 30 or 40 members, which helps a great deal. A lot of, some people don't join the repeater group, and we wish they would, because it's quite a lot of money keeping these things going. I mean, we've got to pay Procom in the next week quite a few £100s to have our cavity fixed. But when it's off the air, people soon start getting very fed up about it. So we wish we could get more members. I mean, it's not much, it's only £12 a year, but it helps us keep them going. But we also put a lot of our own money into it.
So I'm guessing your message would be to all repeater users up and down the country, really, everywhere amongst our viewers, support your local repeater group.
Absolutely. Wherever you are, I mean, if you sort of support a repeater group in Cambridge, then it's okay to use the one in Essex. Well, of course it is anyway, but I mean, we can't demand anything of anybody, but it just helps if you help out the repeater groups, and it helps us keep them going.
Your D-style repeater's here in your house, so whereabouts is that?
Within about 5 or 6 feet of where we're sitting. If we go through that door, you'll see it.
Right, can we go and have a look now?
Absolutely.
Right, who's that?
That's Murray, the secretary of the repeater group.
Does he live in your garage?
No, he came with the repeater actually.
Oh, well, he's the man I need to talk to then about D-Star.
Absolutely.
Murray, hi.
Good morning.
Now, you're the secretary of the Essex Repeater Group, but I think that title doesn't really cover all the technical things you have to do as well.
No, so for the repeater, I'm license holders for the 4 repeaters, and certainly for the digital repeaters do a lot of the network side of it because they need internet connections. And with my colleagues, we also sort out aerials and the analog stuff and the maintenance.
That's not all you do, though, because you do have a national responsibility, I think, as far as spectrum management is concerned.
Yeah, so one of my many roles has meant that recently I became RSGB's Spectrum Chairman, having previously been its microwave manager. So when it comes to band plans and IARU matters and some of the licensing review, yes, that's comes across my desk as well.
And then, just in case you had any spare time, you're also involved on the educational side as well?
Yeah, so having started at club level, I've ended up also being on the standards committee for the RCF along with several others. So we see an overview of the national efforts on results and how the syllabuses may change.
Now, the reason that we're stood in Clive's garage is because that's where the D-Star repeater for Danbury lives. It's here behind you.
Yes, GB7ZP, our D-Star repeater, lives in the rack here in the corner of the garage. And the repeater itself is in these 2 cabinets here. So we have the D-Star repeater and its radios from ICOM, standard 77's unit here. It's power supply and UPS here. And up here in a 1U unit is a Linux gateway, which provides the internet and routing for both our radio and others.
I'm guessing, Murray, that with an installation like this, the IT side is just as important as the RF side.
Very much so, because you're in a domestic environment shared with other IT, but ultimately you need to create a very reliable connection that the rest of the world can see and route your audio out and connect to other gateways or other repeaters.
So your gateway needs a fixed IP address for a start, so it can always be found.
The D-Star system certainly needs a fixed IP, and in fact if you did it for most of the others it's the same challenge.
So what can we see on the screen here then, Murray?
We've just started with the repeater group's own main website, so you can see our other call signs, DA, ER, DB, ZP is our D-Star one here. And we've also got a 10 gig speaker and CMS. This is inside the RF section of the D-Star repeater with the 2 radios there and the cavities and transmit bandpass filter. So that's how you miniaturise a 77's D-Star repeater. And being a digital repeater, it uses much more modern technology than most amateurs normally come across. So this is the upper section with its FPGA controller and logic. So we can also bring up details of the repeater itself. All the D-Star repeaters, you can go onto a status page which lets you see who the most recent users are. And we can also have the interface and control screen if we need to register a new person.
So am I right in saying that you have to register? If you're going to get the best out of D-Star, you need to register with the gateway, because although you could use your repeater locally, you won't really get access to the whole network if you're not registered.
The original system, you certainly had to be registered. Some you can get away with it, but really registering gives you full access to the entire system.
And it also means anybody can find you on the system.
That's right, yes.
Murray, here we are up on Danbury Hill, which is the home of your analogue repeaters, and the antennas are up on the mast behind us here, are they?
Yes, the GB3DA and ER, which are 2 metre and 77's FM repeaters, are the 2 lower collinear aerials, left and right there. The short one is obviously the UHF one.
Is there a reason that they're only halfway up the tower?
Very much so. those positions aren't commercially as valuable as being at the top.
So you had a particular site agreement with the owners of this site then, Murray?
Yes, there's a site agreement which not only gave us those positions, it also meant we also had to keep an eye on the site and occasionally cut the grass for them.
So that's a nice little example to other repeater groups that it's worth asking, worth chatting to the site owners if you can, because it must be useful for them to have somebody locally who can check none of their antennas are blown away.
True, it's increasingly difficult. I think if we attempted that now, I don't think we'd have got onto that site. But yeah, it's always worth negotiating.
Don't ask, don't get.
Absolutely.
Now this is a great spot for your repeaters because as we look over here, we can see why the repeater has such a good takeoff.
That's right. Absolutely clear all the way down to the Thames estuary, so no obstructions from our little mountain in Essex.
Although this isn't a mountain, by Essex standards, it really does stick up above the surrounding flat land, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this mountain in Essex is a mere 110 metres high, but it's the only one around, so that gives us the great view.
Because it's so flat, the surrounding area.
Yes.
So how much of the county did you cover?
On 2 metres, all of it, and slightly beyond. On 77s, we almost cover it as well.
Yeah, it's a great site, isn't it? Whereas, you know, in the part of the world where I come from, the lumps are considerably bigger, so you really have to be on a high spot with your repeater.
Geography and height is everything. Yeah. But just this one here is covering almost the entire county from one spot.
We're back in Clive's garden now because this is where the other 2 antennas live on the top of his house. So up here we've got your beacon antenna and the D-Star repeater antenna.
Yeah, the D-Star's the big vertical on the left there, and then we have an Echo Link node on the right, and when it's back in service, the 10 gigahertz beacon will be actually attached to the chimney.
I think what I've got out of talking to you guys today is something that drives most of what happens in amateur radio, and that's the passion and the enthusiasm of those who drive these things forward. And with something like repeaters, without your volunteers and people like yourself and people like Clive, it doesn't happen, does it?
No, they don't grow on trees. You can't buy one in a shop. So you really do have to be quite dedicated.
So for the future of your 4 repeaters, how secure is that? Because I mean, if you haven't got the volunteers, you can't keep it going, can you?
No, it's volunteers, those with the skills on engineering or publicity, and also the opportunities to meet members and find the supporters at rallies as well.
So you're still always looking for more people to be involved in the repeater group?
That's right, yes. It's a constant thing. Every year we look for people who can support us or have good skills that can help us out.
I suppose the most important way that all your repeater users can support you is by being a member and actually paying a subscription.
Yes, we're always welcoming members because without their fees we wouldn't be able to do it.
And it's a very reasonable price?
Yeah, £12 a year in our case, £1 a month. Very good value.
So I think that's an important message for all of us. A lot of us use repeaters and perhaps don't necessarily make any contributions to the hard-working guys like these who keep those repeaters on the air. So remember, be a member of your local repeater group if you can, and you can always see them at the rallies and perhaps make a donation. And obviously you can't make a donation perhaps to every single repeater you use, but as long as you're supporting one of the groups, you're helping keep a very important aspect of amateur radio on the air.
Still to come on TX Factor, we meet the trainers at CARS to see what the challenges are when it comes to inspiring people to progress through the hobby of amateur radio. It's been a good few months since Martin Lynch & Sons have moved to their new premises in Staines, and on the day of their grand opening we caught up with Martin himself to see how things are going and find out what's on the horizon at Essex House.
Training school going upstairs that we're going to launch in September of this year. We've got a large allocation upstairs to put a proper training school in. That won't just be for foundation, it'll be for intermediate and advanced. We've got a conference room which if it's amateur radio related, it's free to rent. So please call us if you need space on a Saturday generally. We've got some new franchises since we've moved here, and indeed some new staff. We're now up to a level of 17 with another workshop engineer up in our workshops. There's 3 of them up there, and we've got a new customer services representative as well. So things are looking good, we're enjoying it. It's been very, very hard work, but great fun. And certainly the turnout today has proved that we've made the right decision moving just a few miles away from Heathrow Airport. 5-minute walk, if that, from the railway station, Nick. So it's been good, we've enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
Is that all right? That'll do. One take wonder.
Chris G0IPU, you're the chairman of Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society, and you're also very involved in the impressive training record that CARS has. So how did you get started in the training of young people into amateur radio?
That started way back at a committee meeting back in 2001 when the foundation courses started, and when it was raised, all heads looked in my direction because I'd previously been involved with the Scouts doing the novice course as it was then, right from the very beginning then.
How many people do you think you've put through the courses then since you began?
Well over, the course is well over 350, 60 odd, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's, all in, I suppose. Yeah. And then there's the Scouts on top of that as well. So
That's an impressive number, but I suppose the next challenge is keeping them interested. You get them through the exam, but you don't want them to then drop out, do you?
You can't force them to do it, but we'd like to make it as appealing as we possibly can to get young people and even the older generations to come and have a go.
That's a very good point, actually, a really good point, because as a club you do need to do something. It's great to get them through the exam, but then you do need something that's going to keep them interested and give them some operating experience.
Absolutely. I think it's good to encourage the older generations as well as the younger generations. And if you've got the technical challenge could be quite appealing to people that perhaps are slowing down from other activities, including work. So that we get quite a few people coming along. I've always wanted to have a go at this and give it a try, so please come along, give it a go.
In America they call it Elmering. That's something really important, isn't it? And I suppose these days it does need to be done in an organised way if we're going to make sure that new amateurs get that support.
The team as it stands at the moment we all try and get back out to help doing the skills evenings, which you'll get to hear about hopefully a bit later on.
Clive G1EUC, we're in your very well populated shack at the moment. You're very involved in the training for the Chelmsford Amateur Radio Society. What's your role exactly in the training?
Well, I'm the training manager. I run the training courses, organise the tutors. I do some of the lectures as well. Order all the books, get the people on the courses, so bums in seats, as you might say. And it's quite an all-embracing role. So it's, I would say, if I was working full-time, it would take me 2 days a week.
So I guess that it's very important then, a good example to set. Although not every club could necessarily have someone like you who could do this, it is good to have one point of contact.
Well, as my dad said, you must have a captain of the ship. It doesn't mean you go around telling everybody what to do, but you organise things. You could have an invigilator suddenly go sick, so you have to find one quickly.
I guess it's very much a team effort then.
I would say, the team we've got, if one person was to drop out, it would be very, very difficult.
I think it's very interesting that you guys at CARS are focusing in on the fact that you do need some training in the operating side of it. There's the technical side of the training, but the operating is really important.
If we have someone who's a little bit nervous on the course, or maybe before the course, or even afterwards, and we will train them up using one of these radios.
Well, that does explain why there's so many radios in your shack, Clive, because I mean, us hams, we love our radios, but the reason you've got so many is you use them as a training aid and you lend them out.
Yes, I do. I've got a 706 on loan at the moment. I've got another 570 out on loan. I loan them out because sometimes when people finish a course, they're not quite sure whether they want an auto ATU, whether they want a radio without an ATU, whether they want a radio that covers all bands. So I let them try some of the radios out to see what they want. And then the other problem they have, of course, is aerials. What aerial do I use? What power units? So I can come here and show them lots of different things. And actually, I sometimes set it up in my conservatory so that they can actually set it up and set up a radio station. Even though we do that in the course, it's very easy to forget these things when you're finished.
It can be that the course focuses very much on the technical aspects and that they don't always get enough operating experience. So it's really good, I think, that you guys in cars are focusing on that as an important aspect.
Yeah, I think there's too much technical because you get some people come around here before a course and they're too nervous, so I let them have a go on the radio under the training call sign. Sometimes during a course I get someone who's particularly nervous, so I bring them back here maybe over a couple of nights and let them have a go on the radio. And sometimes after the course people just are frightened because the courses are very good and well designed, but I don't believe they cover QSOs enough. I think there should be more operating practice within them and less technical stuff, which half of them aren't going to use anyway. And I think that also the band plan is quite a difficult thing to get to grips with. I think we need more on the band plan, more on aerials, how to use them, how to set them up, more on different types of radio, and make sure, of course, they understand EMC.
In our last episode, we gave you the chance to win a FunCube Dongle Pro in our free-to-enter draw. From the hundreds of entries received, the lucky winner was Rolf Brewer, Papa Echo 1 Mike X-Ray Papa, from Reichen in the Netherlands. Congratulations, Rolf. This time, we have a CG-PK4 Auto Pocket Keyer to give away, courtesy of Martin Lynch & Sons. To find out more about this compact and versatile electronic keyer, and for your chance to win one, head to the TX Factor website and follow the link to the competition page for full terms and conditions. Still to come in this episode of TX Factor, we head to the blustery Essex coast to experience an Essex Ham get-together, where one of the highlights was Chris Stubbs' launch of a high-altitude balloon and tracker out over the North Sea. And that's coming up after this. The Ham Radio Training Academy, HRTA, is opening at the Martin Lynch & Sons store in September 2015. A large area on the first floor of the building has been set aside for training of the foundation and intermediate licenses, and later followed by the advanced amateur radio examinations. In addition, workshops featuring lectures and presentations on ham radio operating techniques, modern ham radio stations, contest operating, and many other ham radio related topics will be a regular feature at Wessex House. The area is fully air conditioned and fitted out with desks and equipment relevant to the training of ham radio. To find out more, visit hamradio.co.uk/training.
Tell us a bit about Essex Ham then, Pete, because it's very different to other radio clubs, isn't it?
It's a little bit of a different type of club. We're really a virtual club, so the intention is to get as many amateurs together, all working for the common cause of promoting amateur radio. So anyone can join regardless of the club that they're a member of. We've got about 300 members from all over the world now, all just linking together to help support amateur radio and get people more involved in the hobby.
So a very important part of this then is going to be your web presence.
Absolutely, and being a virtual club you do need a very good web presence. These days a lot of kids and young adults are very keen on social media. A lot of clubs aren't perhaps so good at doing that, so we do a lot of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube videos, that sort of thing to promote the hobby. And hand in hand with that is the net that we run. And we found when a lot of people start the hobby, they don't know who to talk to. So we have a very friendly net that runs once a week, particularly for newbies to come along, talk about the hobby, get their questions answered. And that really formed Essex Ham, which has sort of grown over the last few years to be quite a serious concern for us now.
So as well as the website, it's not just a virtual club, because you do get together and do things like this, which are just social, fun field days.
Absolutely, we try and make them very casual, very informal. We organise them over Facebook and Twitter, so we don't tend to promote them until the day before or a couple of days before and say, look guys, it's going to be a great weekend, come along, let's play some radio. So we've got all the bits that make these things a little bit easier. So we're RSGB affiliated, we've got club call signs, that kind of thing. Yeah, we're just keen to get as many people down to promote as we can. One thing we do like to do is guest messages. So when the public do come along, if they show any kind of glimmer of interest, we'll stick them in front of a microphone, get them to do a quick exchange, and that way at least they get a feel for what the hobby's all about, rather than just watching guys with headphones on sitting there talking.
It's a bit blustery, so what sort of things will you be able to demonstrate today, Pete?
Today's going to be a busy one, we hope. We're hoping the weather picks up a little bit, but the plan today is 2 HF stations, a VHF station ready for guest messages. We've got a high altitude balloon launch planned for early this afternoon, and one of the guys working the SO50 satellite. So it should be a busy one, and hopefully the public will be along as well.
So why do you think that your approach is working so well as a sort of a different kind of a club?
I think it's just important to try all sorts of different things. There's many established clubs around here that do things like the museums on the air, Lighthouse on the air, which is great, and they're very good to be on air and doing things. Because we're a very small and agile club using the internet to do it, we can do things quickly. So if we see there's a good event locally going on, we can just sort of dive in and get involved. No sort of heavy committee structure where we have to debate things and fill out all the paperwork. We also do things like tie up with the Raspberry Jams. So we've seen areas where kids, young adults are very interested in technology, doing these things with Arduinos, Raspberry Pis. We'll go along, we'll set up a stall. We don't operate, but we're just there as a presence. What is amateur radio, to get people interested? Again, if they show an interest, we'll get them down here, get them on the radio, show them what it's all about.
Do you have members just from Essex or from elsewhere as well?
Well, that was the intention, was it would be Essex only, the name Essex Ham, implying people from Essex, but we've got people from all over the world now. We're just over 300 members from all across the country, all across the world, and growing, so we're doing something right.
I'm Mark, I'm 2E0RMT. I've been in the hobby now 2 years. Just come up 2 years.
So you went in at the deep end, Mark, and you've got pretty involved in all aspects of the hobby, including Raynet.
Yes, I do enjoy Essex Raynet, and it's just nice giving something back to the community, obviously whilst enjoying the hobby at the same time.
So you've built yourself a really handy dandy Raynet kit here. You put this all together yourself?
I did, yes. It's just a shack in a box, but it's obviously incorporating all the radios that we use via the Raynet side.
So what radios have you got in your shack in a box then?
I've got a Kenwood D17 with obviously all the APRS and just a basic 4-metre transceiver as well.
You use the Kenwood, I imagine, as a crossband repeater, do you?
Yes, we use it as a crossband repeater, obviously with the APRS as well, and it just so they can track where we are, make sure we're in the right location, etc. when we're doing our voluntary stuff.
I imagine that digital communication is getting to be an important part of Raynet now.
It is. We use DMR quite a bit. We did dangle with D-Style, but we found it was quite intermittent. But with the DMR side, it's a lot broader and it's a lot more clearer and it's more precise, and it's very handy for us.
And so that's another of your big interests, DMR?
DMR, very much so. I mean, I don't very much use 2 metres or 70 SEMS anymore. I go on HF a fair bit, but I'm always on DMR.
Could anybody build one of these shack in a boxes that you've done, Mark? Presumably it uses all off-the-shelf components, does it?
Oh yes, that's it. I mean, the case itself I just bought from a normal DJ outlet, and yeah, as you will see, it's all in a box. It's just all put in there with shelving and obviously the power side of it, and that's it.
Complete self-contained emergency unit.
Exactly. And what with the antenna as well, it's up, and I'm up and set up in about 10 minutes without getting on site.
Essex Hams is a very different kind of approach to radio clubs. Do you find that it's one that works really well for you?
I think it's good because there's no such thing as like you belong to that club, you belong to that club, so we're not talking to you, which you do seem to get a part of that. With Essex Ham, it just seems to draw everybody in from all different clubs, all got grades, all different call signs, levels, and it's just good. It's just really good for the hobby, and I enjoy it. We do have some good days out.
CQ, 2 Echo 0, Uniform Echo Hotel Portable, calling CQ 2.
Will you hear it?
So if I fill it from this side and just let it blow about in here and hope it doesn't get punctured, is there anything sharp? So we put together little trackers like this. They've got a 70 SEMS license-free transmitter on them and a GPS receiver, and we attach them to balloons and launch them. We can use amateur radio equipment and SDR dongles to track the signal from them, plot their coordinates. We can receive images from some of them, display them on a little map, and see how high they get, see where they get to. So this one today is going to be going up to about 20 kilometres altitude. I think the world record's about 45 kilometres altitude. You can get some amazing photos of that kind of altitude, the curvature of the Earth. How far they go really does depend on the wind. I've launched some before that sort of quarter of the way across the UK to go and pick it up. But sometimes people launch them, they'll drift off into Europe, sort of mainland Europe, and float around there. One's even done a couple of laps around the world before. That's what we call a floater, one of those. We won't be expecting to recover this payload because of the high wind today, and it's going to be going straight out into the North Sea. Yeah, we're still receiving it. Right, so we're going to go and launch it from the seafront if everyone wants to come down. It's kind of clear the wind's taking it, the way the wind's taking it from here. If we go from where the wind with the bike is, I reckon. So we're going to be launching this balloon. It's got a 70 SEMS transmitter on it and a GPS tracker. So if you want to tune in at home, it's 434.300 megahertz and it's SSB RTTY data mode. So if we do a little countdown, everyone, for the launch. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're tracking the Essex Ham balloon now. We can see it's up at 380 metres altitude. It's going pretty much parallel to the coastline. Battery voltage is still good. It's got 5 satellites in view, so everything's performing normally. About 20 degrees, the onboard temperature sensor's saying. So you can track the flight at home either using your own amateur radio, SDR, or if you don't have those, you can go onto the website, spacenear.us, and anyone else that's receiving the balloon with their radio will be uploading those positions to the server, and we get a distributed listener network. So those coordinates will still be coming up on the map, and you'll be able to track it live.
They say the only way is Essex. Well, that might not be strictly true, but in this episode, we've seen how amateur radio is done Essex-style, and we hope you've enjoyed the show. So until the next time, from all the TX Factor team, 73.
Yeah, great, brilliant.
TX Factor is brought to you in association with Martin Lynch & Sons, the world's favourite ham store.